Have that beautiful driving range out there, the beautiful tee of the driving range, was due to Mike Manco. He got 3/4 of it done. Never got the other part finished of the tee area. But it was an exciting time. I got to know, Chuck Lott. Obviously, this whole idea of greens and working around the problems outside fit my background and what Great Lakes could do. And we did some minor work out here, dredging the pond at times, but nothing. This is not our work.
You dredged the lake?
Yeah, Great Lakes did.
Tell me, what piece of equipment did you use to dredge Lake Hazard?
A dozer.
A dozer?
A dozer. Nobody ever, that wasn't the way people thought. The way people who deal with earth think about those kind of things. We just put a backhoe on the edge and just dozed all the dirt to the backhoe, and then we threw the dirt over on the south side of the tennis courts.
Oh, okay. That's where those big mounds came from that are still there.
No, they're not the ones at the end of the driving range.
Oh, that's right.
Those came from Valori.
Okay.
No, our mounds are leveled out. It just looks like a rise there. But my first real encounter with Chuck Lott, Chuck, we knew each other by this time because of the Greens Committee. But I'm down in West Virginia. We're bidding a job in West Virginia. And it's hard to explain how bids go in our business, but it's a very hectic time. Before bids have to be due at a specific time, and if you're a minute late, it's too late. But you get an awful lot of subcontractors who want to change their price, find out where they are, all this jitter. And the last 4 hours, bids usually go in at 10 o'clock, so from 6 in the morning till 10, the phone, everything's going, and you have a team of about 5 or 6 guys just working full time. So they get this call, and this is 8 o'clock in the morning, absolutely the worst time to call. And I didn't answer the phone. One guy said, "There's a guy here who demands to talk to you. His name is Chuck Lott." I said, "We'll have to call him back." He said, he won't take that. You just talk to him. So I talked to him. We were putting the Crocker Park extension from Detroit Road up to Hilliard. Mm-hmm. And the county had made a mistake in their plans, because there's a large drainage culvert that goes underneath Hilliard and Crocker. Off to the southeast, there's a pond, really a reservoir, and that drains through our creek. But the plans didn't take the depth of the creek through Lakewood. So what had happened is the water wouldn't flow. So the county had issued a change order with the agreement with Lakewood. I mean, the county had done all this negotiation to drop the level of the creek going through Lakewood. They'd forgotten 2 things in their negotiation with Lakewood. One is there's a bridge over the creek, and when you lower the bottom, you widen the slopes, and the bridge won't fit anymore. So the county had forgotten that. And Chuck had seen the plans, but Chuck was not a man who read construction plans. But we were out coming in to do this job with construction equipment. And Chuck would not accept. He wanted the slopes laid back so he could mow them. The county had designed them as steep as possible to minimize the amount of dirt that had to be moved. Well, totally unacceptable to Chuck. He didn't like the slopes, they're too steep. He didn't want any construction equipment on his job. You had to do it by hand. Well, I mean, the county hadn't included any cost of doing anything by hand. And my equipment, the Great Lakes equipment, was on the job, and he wanted my equipment off that job. So I talked to our superintendent. We got the equipment off the job, Chuck happy, and then we went into negotiation with the county as to what had to be done. We eventually donated a bridge. We had some I-beams that were big enough in our yard to be able to lengthen the little cart bridge. They're small junior I-beams. And so we did that.
This is on number 7.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so we eventually did everything to make Chuck happy. And if you ever go look back at, after you go across the cart bridge and turn and look around, you'll see a pipe that's higher in the air.
Yes.
Then that pipe is, you never see it flowing. And that's the old pipe of the original design. You realize how much they had to drop it down. So it was just a few feet, but a few feet makes a big difference in the flow of the water. So.
Well, how did you dig it out? By hand?
Yeah. Literally by hand.
By hand.
Yeah.
With the steep slopes?
No. Shallow slopes.
Shallow. Cut down there?
Yeah. So we had to move more material. I mean, the county realized that they had, made a giant mistake. But more importantly, now they had no bargaining power with Lakewood. I mean, you had this irate guy out there that they didn't know how to deal with.
Well, who paid for the air then?
County.
County did.
County paid for it, yeah. No, it wasn't at any expense of Great Lakes at all. And Great Lakes has had some opportunities to help Lakewood out in very minor ways. We built a path around the fence. We brought in material that was actually coming off a highway job. Material, and if you didn't have this as an alternative, you would have maybe recycled. But there had been an interest that had been expressed quite a few times by Chuck Lott to build, what he'd call a walking path, but it really gave him access to the fence line. And so he liked the idea of this walking path because it really was what he wanted. But and we had material coming off a job, and so we worked it out with him, and that we'd give Lakewood the material, and they would provide the dozer to knock down the material. And so we've had a few opportunities to do things. I've been involved in the bridge on 16. Browning Crowe, you might remember, was an engineer, a design engineer. And he had done the first project, which was encapsulating the columns in concrete. And then there was a safety issue. One of the problems with heavy pedestrian traffic is that that's maximum loading for a facility. So even a bridge like the Golden Gate Bridge, when they have a giant marathon, that's maximum loading for the Golden Gate Bridge. It isn't trucks alone. Trucks are what destroys our infrastructure, but that's a frequency phenomena. As a max loading, you pile people up. As you realize you don't take a very big footprint to be there, and yet you're 6 foot of weight. So that it gets to be a loading phenomena. And we had talked about public facilities out here, and the fact that the railing didn't meet OSHA standards, which became a very important factor. So we eventually got to raising the railing, which now we've lowered. And but I don't have the public functions. You remember the Cleveland Open years ago. Right. Those times had changed. But that kind of brings you up to, I've, as you're probably aware, I did serve on the board under Chuck Young and their first term of John Packle. Was involved in some renovation projects here at the club. The big one being the men's new locker room, the Tillinghast room, redoing the 10th, what do I call that? The turn, the clubhouse turn. Halfway house, thank you.
Right, yeah.
But, I'm really not that kind of a contractor, but at least I understand contracting, so that's why I've done that. And Mike Manko and I had a good time on the men's locker room because, and
Wait, tell me how can you have a good time in a men's locker room?
well, it's not, nothing's more fun than dealing with personalities. And when we did that project, that redo of the men's, the ladies' locker room, and the Tillinghast, we had we had all kinds of concerns, especially with the ladies' locker room because of the lack of space for expanding it. You know, it was very difficult to come out how you could make their facility as nice as you were going to make the men's, because the men's had expansion opportunity. And so we were able to do it with some reconfiguration. But the cute story to me was Mike Manko. He liked it. He was very enthusiastic. He worked hard on the project. He just wanted a steam room. And you know, we didn't have universal agreement on the steam room, but we all finally said, look, Mike's put a lot into this, and it isn't that it's costing a lot. I mean, we had a sauna planned. We just changed it to a steam room for Mike, and he was very happy.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that room always seems to be a maintenance problem.
It has turned into be a terrible maintenance problem.
Yeah, the steam and the moisture.
Yeah. Well, you know, the trick of building anything is maintenance. You hate to say that. I don't care whether you're talking about, you know, major facilities that we generally deal with or small facilities. It's maintenance, maintenance, maintenance. We talk about today's infrastructure.
Right.
What are we looking at? Are we building new infrastructure? No, we're really maintaining. I mean, the large bridge jobs we're talking about now in Cleveland, it's really a maintenance. You're building a new structure, but you're doing it because the old one is worn out. Mm-hmm. And this country is in a maintenance mode, and it's changed one terrific amount, and people haven't quite got it through. Why am I spending all this money and I end up with something that looks just the same? And that's hard to demonstrate. It's worn out, yeah. But we don't want to think about it that way. I mean, it's one thing when your washing machine goes out and your wife says, honey, I can't do the laundry. I mean, you run out, quickly buy that new washer. It's a little harder to do that when you want to spend $300 million to build a bridge. Yeah, well, they're still riding across it. Why can't we go another year?
Well, it sounds to me, first of all, going back, the great influence upon you is your wife.
Definitely.
I understand that, and the guidance, and the support and love, and yet your story is very, very tickling in the fun things that happened and how they happened, which just shows me all the things I need to know about marriage between the two of you. And I know that for a fact before you said that, but now it's reinforced because she is a guiding light, and she has a great laugh. I know that on stories, and she giggles and really is a wonderful woman and much appreciated by people associated in that with her.
Well, the only thing I've really learned from Linda is that obviously was a great mother, no question about that. But I never realized how dangerous a grandmother could become until Linda became a grandmother.
What happened?
I mean, that's what I said. When our kids were growing up, there were these rules, and Linda was when Linda said jump, we all said how high. I mean, that was it. She ran that household, and she ran it well, and the kids had to listen to Linda. I mean, sometimes she was difficult in really getting one or two children to understand what she really wanted, but boy, she would stay with it until she got her message across. But when grandchildren came along, Katie barred the door. All of a sudden, we're buying things that you've never thought of buying for our own children, but hey, grandchildren, oh my gosh. So she became Nana, and Nana is loved by those 6 grandchildren like nobody else. Our last grandchild was a daughter of name of Mackenzie. She was born in Chicago to my son and his wife Gretchen, who had a 2-year-old boy prior to that. And they didn't know whether this was going to be a girl or not. But turns out that the baby was due about on Linda's birthday. And so Gretchen decided she'd have the baby on Linda's birthday, and she did. So we were in Chicago, and the baby it turned out to be a girl. Nobody knew until that baby was born it was going to be a girl, except Linda. We went to Chicago with 5 girl outfits because she knew it was going to be a girl. Forget it. So that was her second granddaughter. Prior to that, she thought she might be stuck with, because the first 3 were grandsons. But she has been a joy to every one of those grandchildren. She's